Build your perfect training session from breakfast to the gym. What gym are you at? What are you training? Who are you training with?
Protein shake, oatmeal, out the door, straight to the gym. Because I'm catching my workout with Flex Wheeler and Cormier.
Okay.
We're going to train with Charles Glass. You know, I'm in the back, and when they're doing the magic mirror shot off the lighting by the stairs, I sit in the back like this.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
And I act as if I had anything to do with why Flex Wheeler looks like this.
Hey everybody, welcome to It's Just Bodybuilding. I'm Big Ron Partlow. We got Dusty Hanshaw, and of course, the producer, Scott McNally. Remember to like, share, subscribe, comment, and
ring the bell.
Yes, sir. And of course, IamMutant.com. Remember, IamMutant.com. Get your all in, get your ISO surge, get your mind fucking. Everyone should get on the gear. Dusty 20, Big Ron 20. Save your money. Okay. Oh, yeah. And think big Patreon. Remember, keep your producer homed.
Thank you, guys.
Yes. What's going on? What are we starting with? We're opening with check-ins and new rules.
New rules
that we're doing.
Yes.
New rules for check-ins. Dusty and I have we've all had clients do shows. You had a client compete this weekend, Scott, didn't you?
I did. I do have to say we got to be careful. Now, keep in mind, we've started the show with this topic like 4 times now, and like the last 3 times people have been like, you guys have done this topic 4 times. So as far as like the check-in pictures, we just got to like keep it quick. I know you guys, it's important, and I know these rules are new. I just realized, I thought that I was like, wait, we did this.
Yeah, but these are really new
4
rules.
times.
This is totally different.
They're important. They're important. So we've all had clients compete lately, and then we've also had some very funny commentary with Chris Aceto lately.
Well, you guys have. I haven't. I'm not lucky enough to be on Chris's speed dial. Yeah.
So we have some funny, Chris obviously being funny. We have some funny new rules for you. We thought we'd share. What do you think, Dusty?
I think the key that people have to understand, first and foremost, is if you've been listening to Chris on any show before, you'll understand the humor and how he thinks.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So very key on that side, and the fact that Chris is a very, very busy man.
Yes.
You know, backstory for those who aren't aware. When I worked with Chris, I used to send his pictures from the gym because I drive to the gym. It was the only place I had great lighting. Take my pictures every morning, ask for them, send them from my car in the parking lot, and I would not get out of the parking space before he would respond.
Okay.
Very fast. Like, he's on it, but it's quick. He's like, you look better, pics in 2 days, send. Like, and I would send back K, end of conversation, you know? So with that, we like to share some humorous things. And one of Chris's new rules that I love so much, I had to spell all that out for anybody who thinks that this is overly serious. He said, I'm putting together new rules like Bill Maher. He says, yes, you can send me pictures every day. I don't care. Just no questions and absolutely no commentary.
Yeah. So I know getting the detail bomb is the last thing that Chris wants. And and as coaches, we understand too, because like we know you're tired, we know you're hungry. You know what I mean? But you know, we don't need to know that you tied your shoelaces at 7:32 this morning instead of 7:30. And you don't need to know all that. Like, you know what I mean? So there's a little bit of over commentary some people provide. And the last thing we want to do is sift through 5 paragraphs in case there's something important in there and realize that there's nothing important in there. And that the photos are good and you look great.
That's the most important thing, isn't it?
Yeah. I got a funny one here. A friend of mine sent me a screenshot that he got from his buddy who works with Chris.
Okay.
And his buddy was laughing because he's like, oh, I feel really dumb now. Because like, you know, he sent Chris his text and then Chris text back to him. So he sent it to my friend and he's like, you know, that's what Chris said to me. And the text says, I really like how I'm looking. I think a little more fullness through the pecs and a little more dryness through the hamstrings is what I need to really be at my best. I think that when we did the 400-gram carb day, I really had some good fullness, but I think that more like 500 carbs would probably fill me a little bit more. I would really like to come in with a really good look through my delts and through my legs. Not sure what you think." And Chris's response was, "How about I just bring you in the way I want?"
Oh, God.
I love it so much.
Listen, there is some truth to that. If you start trying to like tell your coach how to do things, if I try to listen as a coach to all that, I'm probably not going to do my best job. It's kind of like passenger seat driving, backseat driving.
Yeah. I just thought it was hilarious. But it's true though, because I think as bodybuilders, we get too caught up in thinking we can micromanage all these details as if they're separate. Like, I want more fullness through my pecs, but more dryness through my hamstrings. We'll do both of those things just by turning dials.
Yeah.
And it's like, no, you can get leaner or fuller or more or less dehydrated. Those are really, it's really it.
Yeah.
So like, how you look is how you're going to look. We'll make sure you have a good balance of as much of everything as we can. And that'll be the look.
Yeah.
And
I do you not agree? Typically, I find that these comments and questions come from people who are more advanced, not less.
Yeah.
It becomes more thinking, more over, you know what I mean? Because like, I love, and I think we've all been there. You have a client that you've never worked with before. They've never done a show. They nail everything. They look awesome. They place wherever really well. They're happy.
Yeah.
Then the following year, they come to do a show, or even 6 weeks later, they go to the next show, whatever it is. And now they have thoughts and ideas. And I've had people miss because of it. And fortunately, in my good luck, I've had clients that were smart enough to realize that they missed because they. And they'll tell you, they're like, "Oh man, I started thinking, and then you told me to keep drinking water, and I was like, I don't think I should drink water, so I didn't drink water." And they're making adjustments based on things they know, and it's again just based on one or two experiences, and the more they have, the more those questions come into play. And it's nice when you have the client like your friend that's at a high level where you can just like slam them into their place, and they know what he knows. Chris wasn't being a dick. He knows that Chris was just telling him to stop thinking.
Stop all this noise in your head. Yeah. And then his final line after, he goes, "It's like when my kids tell me they want such and such for dinner. It's like, shut up. I serve you what I make."
I can hear his voice. I can hear his voice.
So accurate. Oh, so accurate.
Yeah. He's funny. He sent me another new rule. Don't send your coach pictures that require a NASA telescope to adjust for the complete shit lighting. Why? Why use the best fake lighting and all the apps in the world to send some chick on a dating app your very best picture, but then send me some terrible shot from a closet?
These are great. Oh,
so and I get that. I got pictures from a client a little while ago. He said, I'm on the road right now, so I'm not at home, and he sent me pictures. Yeah. And they were like unviewable. Like all the light in the room was behind him.
Oh God, yeah.
His whole body was just a shadow. And I just replied, "Would you post this on IG?" And he goes, "No."
Yeah. Yeah, that's the question, isn't it? That's a great question.
And I said, "Then what am I supposed to do with it?" You know what I mean?
That should be your new thing. If you wouldn't post it on IG, don't send it to your coach.
Yeah. Yeah. Pre-filter. If you wouldn't post it, pre-filter.
I'm glad you had that. I forget about that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, and then Chris told me, I just had a client text me, "Chris, can I ask you why you dropped my carbs lower? And then today you said that I looked fuller." And Chris replied, "No."
No, you cannot. Hey, he answered the question technically.
Yeah. So, but that's what goes on in clients' heads is okay, well, Chris dropped my carbs. And then today he said, I look fuller. How can I be fuller on less carbs?
Yeah.
But Chris actually said, you look fuller.
Yeah, not that you are.
Not are fuller.
Yeah.
Look fuller. Because maybe you're a bit drier or a little crisper or whatever. And you know, an experienced coach, he's talking about how you look. Because that's what matters.
Yeah.
And so a lot of people hear certain things and it leads them down a path of like, I'm confused. And it's like, no, he told you exactly what he meant. You look fuller. Right. So
that's
the,
I
remember lots of times
I had a long time ago with Chris along the same things. A word that he hates is feel. Because he'll be like, someone said, I feel flat. He's like, well, you're not. Feel is an emotion. I don't deal in emotion. I deal in facts. And you factually look fine. So move forward. And he said that, and it really actually, it was something I started working with clients on a better level is I explain it and take time because my clients are at a lot of different levels. But I do try to get them to understand because, for example, you know how this works, your first prep that's really, really hard. I feel flat. I feel flat. No, you're hungry. You're fine. But your brain is telling you, and all these things are telling you, I need food. So see what I'm telling you to see in the mirror to keep going, or not understand the simple fact that you might actually be flat and I don't care. What matters is where you come in. So I really do think that if you can do your best as a competitor to remove emotion from yourself, like he says in those scenarios, it's game changing. Like, I think robot mode is the way to go. And then if your coach has questions, because I will ask, you know, specific questions that aren't on my check-in sometimes. You know, you're looking at the check-in and something seems a little off. And you're like, hey, are you feeling stressed with work or home or anything right now?
Yeah. I'm sleeping like 1 hour a night.
Yeah. And then you're like, oh, okay, perfect. That's good data. Or if somebody says I'm sleeping, you know, hey, I'm not sleeping well, that's great data. Just nail it though, because the 3 paragraphs to lead to that don't need. Didn't sleep well last night.
Yeah.
There we go.
Here,
data.
I got a good question for you because I went through this with a client. Is there ever a time where it is acceptable to let workout performance drop? I mean, we say you got to try to keep your strength and all that stuff. And my opinion is that there are times, like if you're in a hurry, if you're pressed for time, if you've got a lot of ground to cover in a little period of time. And I also remember, I vividly remember this one bodybuilder I knew named Rob. And I remember seeing him in the off season. This was like 20 years ago. And I remember seeing him in the off season and he was Smith machine military pressing 3 plates. And I was like, oh, Rob's pretty strong. He's moving 315, you know, military front press on the Smith, like nothing, you know?
Yeah.
And then I saw him like months later and he was like 2 weeks out from the show and he was Smith pressing 1 plate. And he was like doing like sets of 8 to 10. And he was humongous and ripped. Like he was a heavyweight. And I said to him, like, how's the prep going? And he's like, oh, it's great, man. I'm peeled out of my mind. My glutes are just completely like right into my asshole. Like I'm peeled. And he wound up winning. He won his show.
Okay.
And I remember thinking like, man, his strength dropped off a shit ton. And I actually knew who his coach was. And I after he won, I said, hey, I noticed he was like real strong. And then at the end of the prep, he was real weak. And he's like, yeah, he looked great though. He won. And I remember just thinking like, huh. He goes, yeah, I had to push his calories really low. Like he was down to like 1,500 calories to get his glutes in. Like he was like starving.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I remember thinking like, oh, well, he's right. Like he just did what he had to do to get ripped. And he let the performance in the gym slide a lot, but it paid off, which I guess is, you know, there's an exception for every rule. So how have you guys ever, like you guys, what are your, you know, feelings running into that and seeing that?
I think the biggest thing, and this is, I feel like we never get fully answer questions because there's so much gray area involved.
Sure.
There is a difference between I am tired and I'm not mentally preparing for these workouts, and it's not there, you know, and there's a huge difference there. And there is a point where training too hard can hurt us in a prep. So my answer to that is, as a coach, it depends on the client. So I see posts on Instagram and people will post, and you know, any of my clients that are listening will tell you, I will DM them if there's something wrong. I'll never comment on a post, but I'll DM and say, hey, just so you know, on that, boom, 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 make this change. I had a guy just barely a couple weeks ago, he was competing, and I watched him doing bent rows in a Smith with like 185. And he's a pretty thick dude, and I'm watching him. He's moving the weight. He's nasty. I get his pics all the time. I don't care. You look awesome. Then I have other people on the other end of the spectrum that are animals in the gym, and I have to pull their training down. I'm like, hey, we need to pull off 6 sets from today's workout because I can't slow them down. And I think some of that's mental. They are just mentally insane and will not get weaker. I was the same way. I never got weaker during prep. So you would just remove stimulus. It's like, okay, if you're going to train that hard, you can't do 14 sets. You can do 7.
Right.
Yeah. You know, so there's absolutely a time where either you being weak is okay, or you need to force it down. You can't be burning, as they say, you can't burn the candle on both ends. I mean, if you're not eating any calories and your output's through the roof and we have 4 weeks to go, these two things are going to run into each other before we get there. Yeah. And anyone who's ever lost size will tell you, you're fucked. I've done it. Like where you went too far and you look back after eating your face off for 2 months, and you're like, oh, I'm finally back to where I was 3 weeks out.
Right. Yeah.
Because you can't, you know, I mean, you couldn't put weight on if you tried at that point. You know, when people go, oh, I dieted down real far on purpose, and I'm going to fill back out. I'm like, if you're sliced, no, you're not.
Yeah.
You're going to eat more and nothing's going to happen.
Yeah.
I've also heard, you know, you see the guy who's not quite in shape, like he's not as lean as he needs to be. And he's like, oh, I lost all my muscle. And I think, well, usually losing muscle also comes with, like, if you actually lost a bunch of muscle, you'd also be like shredded to the bone. Like muscle doesn't, if you're on test and trend and GH and all this stuff, like I know these guys are, it's hard to lose tissue.
Absolutely.
Like you usually come in pretty friggin' peeled if you've dieted off some muscle. Yep. You know what I mean? So it's hard for me when people say, oh, I lost a bunch of size. I'm like, did you? Yeah. Or you're just not, I just don't think you're lean enough. You're just fatter than you thought you were, is all I think.
The analogy I like to use with like, because I have come in, I had an issue for a few years where my cardio would be high and then my legs would shrink down by the time I got to the show. And it wasn't that I lost muscle. I just got like stringy, flattened out, you know, and that it came back, you know, if it comes back like right away, you know, a few weeks or a month after the show, it's like you didn't really lose, you know, all that size off of the muscle. The analogy I've used is here in Michigan, I don't really do this anymore, but when I was a kid, we used to wash our cars in our driveway or on our front lawn. You put the car on the grass, that way you're watering the lawn at the same time, right? And we could only do that through like spring, summer, into fall. And then you take the bucket and the sponge, you put it in the garage and it stays there and all the way through like, you know, the next 6-8 months. When you get that back out, that sponge is all shriveled up and small. You know what I mean? And that's like the depleted muscle. And you fill the bucket up, right? And you put that sponge in there, it just bounces right back out. It doesn't just like immediately absorb you have to like hold it in for a little while. And a few minutes later, it finally kind of the shape comes back. And that's the picture I've always had in my head of what happened to my legs and what I think can happen when we really get like too depleted. And then like you said, Ron, we're like going to try to fill it all back up right at the end, but we can't. I feel like it's just that sponge bouncing right back up out of the water, you know?
Yeah. No, I know. I think it takes a lot to actually lose tissue. Getting flat is one thing, but actually, melting off 10 pounds of tissue is pretty hard to do when you're taking what, modern bodybuilders are taking. I mean, even the natty guys, like I know a natty guy that just competed. He's a smaller dude, like under 150 pounds, but he was on 1,100 calories for a while. And like, he didn't lose any muscle. His strength went down. Like, he wasn't as strong, obviously, near the end. He's natty, but like, on stage, he had all his muscle. Yeah. And it takes a lot to lose tissue when you're training and recovering properly. If there's an imbalance there, that's when you run into problems.
When we're done with this, I want to segue on communication with coaches real quick, because I had a good situation, a terrible situation, that I think is great information for people listening. I had a client, and I've been pushing him down, and I'm like, we're a little behind, and it's fine. I'm talking about this because he did the right thing here. But so he sent me his pictures one day, and I was like, ugh. You're not quite there. I said, well, leave it alone a couple more days, and then we'll revisit if I need to make a tweak. So 2 days later, he sends me his pictures, and I said to myself, man, he's got like water under him, and I said, I look at his numbers because I have them all like fill out a form, and he said 10 out of 10 on the diet. And I was like, how's the training? Good. Energy, fine. All right, everything's good. And I said, man, you're flat. Obviously you're flat because there's water there all of a sudden and everything's perfect. So I sent him that. A couple days later, he sends pictures again, and I'm like, man, just not quite seeing what I want. It's like, I guess I got to bury it. We got to go down with the calories. So I lower the calories again. I'm like, sorry, man, it's time to grind. And he sends back, I don't think you necessarily know what you're doing. And I'm like, what do you mean I don't know what you're doing? He goes, well, when you first told me to stay on the diet, I ate a jar of peanut butter and I cheated on the diet. Oh. And when I sent those pictures, you said I was flat. And I was like, oh, well, the reason for that is you were perfect on your diet and now there's water, which means it's not possible. So you must be flat. I said, now the real reason is you cheated your ass off on the diet, which you didn't tell me. So you were never
lied
flat.
To your coach.
Yeah.
Then you lied to me, and then I adjusted for what I thought was the truth.
Worst.
Gave you more calories, and now we're further behind the 8 ball. And the reason I don't have a problem saying this, so I told him, I said, hey, listen, you don't think that I know what I'm doing with you, and that's fine, but we have too many chefs in the kitchen. So I'm going to remove myself from the kitchen. I'm not mad at you. You're fine. You got a great physique. Just keep jamming. You've got a certain amount of time to be ready. I think you can do it. But you can't not be telling me stuff and doing things. I'm like, this isn't my plan. And it makes a little more sense to me now why I'm trying to figure out what's going on with 5-6 weeks left when I'm usually pretty well dialed.
Yeah.
So he says, okay, you're right. And then about 10 minutes later, I get the follow-up. And he's like, hey, I screwed up. I'm willing to just execute whatever. And I said, cool, no
Good
problem.
Man. Good man.
Let's get rolling and get back on. But the reason I point this out, number one, is, and he's been locked since,
Good.
But what I want people to think about when you think you're like outsmarting your coach is just fire us or don't, because that's what happens in that scenario. Like, he was sure that I was dumb because what I saw was, and again, based on all the data I had, in the photo, I go, oh, you must be flat because there's water over that muscle, and there shouldn't be.
Yeah.
So you must be depleted to give me that look, because your information tells me you were perfect. And I would never believe that a client would lie to me unless I can tell. Sometimes you can just tell you, like, what the fuck did you eat?
And that goes right back. That goes right back to when that one client said, how can I look fuller when you drop my carbs? And Chris was like, you look fuller. And then this guy's thinking is, well, I must look fuller because I ate cheat food. But you don't know he ate cheat food.
Yeah.
So you're like, well, you look shittier, which means you're more depleted. Because you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, it's the look doesn't necessarily, like, how you look in pictures doesn't necessarily tell us what you did behind our backs.
Right.
sometimes it leads us the exact opposite direction because we don't expect to be lied to.
Yeah, so that was exactly what happened. I mean, so now I'm increasing calories because of this.
Yeah,
and I'm like, oh shit, like, and then that was when it started to get obvious because then I increase them. And you know, we've all been there when you're in a prep with someone and you're changing things and nothing's happening, and you know, like they're doing their shit. So you're like, screw it, I'm gonna throw the calories through the roof. Like, I just want to see the body respond to anything I do, not even necessarily send me in the right direction, just change. You know what I mean? And when I increased those calories for 2 days, I was like, okay, now this doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
Because I'm not getting any feedback, and I should be. You don't go from depleted to still,
yeah.
What's happening? So I just thought that was an important thing to point out because, you know, if you can't lock in, it's okay. And a good coach won't care. Like, I'm not mad. And like I said, the guy, he's rolling now. I'm super happy with everything he's done. But it really comes into play. You know, same thing. I'll have people come in and say, oh, you know, I'll tell them, don't forget to do your abs. Don't forget to do your abs. Don't forget to do your abs. And then, and then you look and you're immediately like, they're like, oh, my back's really tight. And I'm like, oh, have you been doing your abs? Well, no. I'm like, it's all linked, guys. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So usually anything you ask that you're asked to do is part of the plan. So thought I'd toss that in.
Okay. I had a question here. Have you ever had a judge tell you anything that completely blew your mind or you totally disagreed with, you couldn't believe? You ever had, like, what's your worst conversation ever with a judge?
Not to me, but I had a judge tell one of my clients, you could have been a little bit leaner. And that's instantly when I knew that he didn't even remember my client. Because he was like literally the leanest guy on stage. And when you say you could have been a little leaner, there was no way. So I instantly knew, and just the response that guy had, that judge had, I was like, oh yeah, so he just didn't even pay attention. But that was really that. And I was told personally, I told you guys this one a couple of weeks ago, better bicep peaks. You're on mute, Ron. Oh, I thought you were on mute.
Yeah,
Sorry.
yeah.
We lost Dusty.
We lost Dusty. Oh, well, we'll get him back in a minute here.
Yes.
I'll wait for him.
All right.
Dusty was very choppy there for a second. I don't know if you saw the same thing.
I did. Things just went sideways for him for a minute. There, he's back now.
It's because they have a third dog now, so there's another cell phone with Wi-Fi, right? So every dog's got its own. It's splitting the signal, because every dog's got his own smartphone. So
it's true. No, actually, it's because we have two internets. That was loud. We got two internets, and I have one for the girls, and it grabs theirs sometimes, and it's slower than mine.
Okay.
So I just realized it got all choppy, and I'm like, I'm not going to say anything. I'm just going to switch Wi-Fi's real quick, and I didn't realize it would hang up. But
okay, no worries.
We're back. Oh, so back to your question. I wanted to hear what you guys. I heard yours, Scott, and I've been there.
Yeah.
So I had a figure competitor once who was in fantastic shape, and I thought she was a slam dunk win, right? And I was backstage and I looked around and the other figure girls were kind of checking her out. And I was like, oh, she's going to smoke this. And then she went out on stage and she got put in the 2 spot.
Okay.
And the girl on the 1 spot was good. She was very wide in the shoulders, had very separated quads, but she wasn't nearly as conditioned in the rest of her body. She still looked really good. But I thought I was like, I really think my client's better, like overall.
Yeah.
You know? And my client was leaner in the back, delts, glutes. I thought was tighter. And I thought, I wonder if they're putting her second because she's too hard. That's the only thing I could think of.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, that's really disappointing because, as far as I was concerned, the Olympia standard is what they're supposed to judge to.
Right.
And those girls are pretty peeled. Like, have you seen Lola Montez on stage?
Yeah. Yeah. It's just the peak. They aren't covered in veins. It's just the way they peak them.
Yeah. So I thought, well, maybe she's too hard. I don't know. Maybe she's too hard. So I went up to one of the judges and I said, hey, just wondering about that figure competitor. Like the girl that won was great, but I'm just wondering like why why my girl didn't win. And he goes, well, if you brought her to a pro qualifier like that, she'd probably win her pro card.
That's the worst.
But at a regional show, she was too hard.
Yeah. You get that in men's physique as well. You know, like he was too big for this division. But if you were at a national level show, he'd fit right in.
Yeah. And I just thought, oh, that hurts my brain.
Yeah.
He goes, oh, if you brought her to a pro qualifier like that, she'd probably win. But at this level, she's a little too hard.
I remember that time that I beat Ronnie Coleman on the Wisconsin Open because he was too big for the novice division of Wisconsin Open. So I won.
Yeah.
And he goes, yeah, you know, looking at the lineup, she was too hard. And I was like, really? That's what you're going to tell me? It was pretty disappointing. So when that stuff happens, I really, you know, you got to take it, but whatever.
I'll tell you one that it wasn't exactly those scenarios, but I hired a posing coach, very well known. Did all my shots, and I remember I did my rear lat spread, and he was like, "Oh, I'm going to change this." And I went, "You're going to change my rear lat spread?" Okay, so I do it his way, and I see the pictures, and he like sends it back. You'll see, and I'm like, yeah, mine was better. I see what you're saying. And he's like, no, you need to open further and widen everything out and flatten out all this. I'm like, all the dents and detail. And he's like, yeah, just pull forward. And I was like, whew, I don't know about this. I've literally never lost a shot, but I was like, I'll think about it. So I was fortunate enough to get to show my physique to a national level judge that's also a pro judge that a lot of people think is the most in charge judge. We'll leave it at that.
What's up, Steve? Okay, shout out to Steve.
I hit my rear lat spread, and he goes, why are you hitting it like that? And I go, what do you mean? He goes, do it like you always do. And I was like, yes, sir.
Yeah, yeah.
It just made me laugh because I was like, I was going against what I knew, but I was like, well, this is a good chance to show it, you know? And it was two things that were special. Number one, that he actually knew what my rear lat spread looked like before. That blew my mind.
Right.
Because I'm definitely a C-lister. And, it was one of those things that you have to be mindful of with when you hire people, you know? And I still send all my clients to different coaches, and I'll look at some of their poses, and I'm like, ooh. And then I'll literally slide them over to a different posing coach. I'm like, adjust that front double for me. And then they will. I'm like, his front double, his rear lat. You know, so I'm very fortunate. I have some really good posing coaches I send people to now it makes your job a lot easier. I don't know if you guys are doing that at all, but I have Kate Lane take all of my figure and bikini coat poses now. And I mean, off the charts. Sid Ray's been doing most of my bodybuilding now. And I mean, it's so great when people are like, oh, yeah, I worked with them, and they're just as responsive as you on the other. You're like, oh, thank God. You know, you don't want to like fire somebody to a posing coach that then like doesn't pay them attention.
Yeah, Kate's fantastic. I'll recommend Kate as well. I've sent a lot of figure competitors. I don't have a lot of figure competitors, but I seem to have very good ones. Right. And have a few like pro cards and that sort of thing. And all of them, pretty much all of them I've sent to Kate. Yeah. And you know, it's pretty, you know, so, you're cool. Good.
I sent her a first time bikini competitor, and I was like, hey, Kate, she's never done this before. Would you work with her? And she's like, sure. And so I send it over, and then I get a message. She's like, she's incredible. And I'm like, and I mean, she's new to the competing. Like, it's not like she's got some off the charts physique or thing. She's like, she just nailed that. So then she posted a video, and I'm like, how did you get her to do this in one time?
Yeah,
you know, I work with. You look at some people. I mean, I've worked with people, and you're like, I can't do that.
Stop talking about Kate. Stop talking about Kate. She'll be too busy. I'll go to send her someone. She'll be too busy.
No one else. She doesn't help clients that are not ours.
Full. Totally booked right up.
It's a very valid point. Should have not have name dropped.
Yeah. Okay.
I got something
off-topic ones.
I got something. Yeah, I have something I want to throw in, guys. This is bodybuilding.
Nice.
This is bodybuilding still.
Okay.
But it's like completely fictional bodybuilding stuff. So we're going to have some fun with it.
Okay.
Build your perfect training session from breakfast to the gym. What gym are you at? What are you training? Who are you training with? And with headphones or not? And what supplements are you on? Just like the whole, I guess like this is like perfect dream workout, I guess, is what we're looking for here.
Okay. Okay. It's 1993.
Yes.
I have eggs, oatmeal, and a couple pieces of toast for breakfast with some coffee and a liter of water. And I leave my hotel that's a block from Temple Gym, and I meet Dorian at the back alley door at 10 a.m.
Yes.
And we go down the stairs, and he puts on an album of his choice. He had good taste in music.
Yep.
Something really loud. We don't need headphones because there's no one else in the gym except for me and Dorian, and maybe Leroy's there too. And then we just dig into legs or back or chest. I don't give a crap. And I just get screamed at by Leroy and spotted by Dorian and fully inspired as a 18-year-old kid. And I'm wearing a rag top boat neck shirt with a tank top underneath and baggy Gators gym pants representing Canada. And maybe some Kobe ones.
Oh.
And I don't know, whatever year it was. I remember I had Kobe ones. It was like 90, maybe it was 95, but it was 93. So I'm wearing some sort of classic Adidas basketball shoe or Nike basketball shoe at the time.
I thought maybe you were wearing Reebok pumps.
No, I didn't do the pumps. They were a little too bulky. I got my sweats tucked into my socks.
Oh yeah, that's a must.
Maybe it's special occasion, so I'm wearing a bandana. I would do a bandana for a special occasion.
Under the ears?
Depends on the bandana, because some were just bigger than others, and I got a big head, so they didn't always cover my ears.
That was an important part.
I wasn't a pirate, but so they probably under the ears. My head's pretty big. My bandanas didn't often cover my ears, but yeah, we went like that, and and then afterwards we would have gone to a local restaurant to have like a steak.
Nice.
Yeah.
Scott, you're up.
There's no pre-workout. It was 1993. We just had coffee.
Could I do something like
had an ephedrine?
Completely off the wall, like
it's your show. Do whatever you want.
Wasn't Axl Rose into weightlifting at one point?
Mm-hmm.
He was never big.
There you go.
Could I go to Axl's house? Like, I don't care what I eat, but could I just go to like Axl's house and get a workout in? See,
absolutely,
know, what he does. Yeah,
I know what the pre-workout would be.
Yeah.
Just me and
Axl with like, he's probably got like a personal trainer that comes to his house. You know, he's got the full set.
Yeah.
For a while, he had that thing. He had one of those devices that you would see at like fairgrounds. It was like a gyro thing that you strapped into, and you like kind of move. You know what I'm talking about?
Oh, yeah.
You could like twist yourself around, and you could really get that thing going. And he was like, I just do that for 10 minutes a day. And he had like
mastery.
he had like all the abs and everything. So maybe Axl and I just do that. And then
that's from cocaine.
Yeah, we do a bunch of blow, and then we
that's absolutely from cocaine. But
we do the gyro thing, and then I don't know.
And then
strippers.
Five strippers make you a gourmet meal.
Yeah, we sit by the pool.
Like it.
Yeah, we like steaks or something. We sit at the pool and just catch up. That's my workout.
There you go.
Okay.
All right. I'm going to go a little closer to Ron's mentality, but I'm going to use things I actually did. So I want to go back. I'm back in Venice, but I'm going earlier in time because it's 98, and I finish up just a basic hotel room meal. Again, protein shake, oatmeal, out the door, straight to the gym, because I'm catching my workout with Flex Wheeler and Cormier.
Okay,
we're gonna train with Charles Glass. You know, we're doing a little battle
full
for the
Venice
Olympia
experience.
Yeah, going all in. You know,
you're
so
getting
we're gonna
you're
do
getting
that.
in the battle for the Olympia shot. He might not be filming your sets, but you're like in the background.
I'm in the back, and when they're doing the magic mirror shot off the lighting, by the stairs, I sit in the back like this.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, yeah.
And I act as if I had anything to do with why Flex Wheeler looks like this. That's me right there, over the shoulder. You got it, but you got to remember too. I got to squint, like I can't quite see it. You know, they always squint.
Yeah, you got to do the squint.
Like, why are you squinting? There's so much going on. It's easy to see. So yeah, doing that, and then I'm gonna wander. I'm the only one not dieting, so I'm wandering down to get a Bob Bowl from the firehouse.
Dude, I swear to God, I knew you were gonna say Bob Bowl.
Yeah, I love that thing.
Did you?
Because you've seen me eat 7 of them in our time. That's cheating. Ron has watched me eat those. Yes, that's it, man. I had so much fun training at Venice when I used to go there. I used to go there, Scott, about every 2 weeks for like 6 months. I trained with Cormier, but he was training me, and we would train in the morning and in the evening every day, 3 days straight, and then I'd go home.
Huh.
And then I'd come back.
I went there once in '98. I was there once in '98. Yeah.
I wasn't even training in '98.
So I'll tell you. So my first trip to Venice was in May of '96. That was my first trip on my way home from Australia. I stopped for a week. And then in '98, on my way back from Australia the second time, I had a 30-hour layover in LA.
Okay.
So perfect. I got off like a 15-hour flight, and I went straight to Gold's.
Oh boy.
And I ate a meal in the airport, and then I went straight to Gold's, and I walked in. And I was like delirious because I'd kind of slept on the plane, but not really. Right. It was like a miserable, I was riding in coach back then. It was like a fucking rough flight.
Oh.
And I get to Gold's, and I thought, okay, so I trained back, and then I did biceps. And then I still had time to kill. So I did some shoulders, and then I did some calves.
Oh my God.
And then I went upstairs and rode the bike just so I could stare out over the gym.
Yeah.
Watch people. Because I didn't have enough time to like do anything but go to Gold's Gym. So I went to Gold's Gym for like the whole day. And sorry, it wasn't a 30-hour layover. It was a 13-hour layover.
Oh, wow.
Okay. I was like,
so that's kind of
30. You could go get some sleep.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. No, it's 13 hours. Sorry, I forgot. I had a 30-hour layover in Japan once. So I got confused. But so I had 13 hours in LA, and I was like, oh God, I didn't get a hotel room or anything, right? I just went to LA, went to Gold's, and then I had a shower at Gold's. Had a shower, like took my time.
You got the full experience.
I had to get the big locker because I had my suitcase, and then the guy at the front desk even like. I think I gave him I think I might have given him one of my bags. I can't remember, but anyways, they were cool to me. And then I ran into Bob Weatherhill, who was like a really good Canadian pro back then. He's a good friend of mine now. But I remember seeing him, and I was like, that's Bob Weatherhill. He's Canadian. He was doing a photo shoot because he just won the North Americans, I think. I don't know what he'd just done. He'd just done something. But he was a pro, and he looked great. And I said, oh, I'm from Canada. And he was like, oh, come eat with me. So we like went down to Max Muscle and bought a jacket, and then we went to the firehouse and and now I'm still friends with Bob. I see him all the time when I go to Toronto. So, but I remember it was 98 and like all the heavy hitters were there because it was like prime Venice, 98 Venice.
Oh yeah.
And I saw Andrew Dice Clay there when I was in the pro shop, and like it was just funny. Like,
you're kidding me.
Just like weird crowd. Yeah. Fucking, Billy the Blonde Bomber was there, like those Billy Smith, all those guys were there training, and it was like middle of the day.
Yeah.
And then just took a cab back to LAX, got on my flight home.
Cab, everybody. Crazy. So that's before Uber, for those who don't know. It's yellow.
Yeah.
Didn't somebody call it?
Didn't you meet somebody else at Gold's that walked you over to?
First time I was there, I hooked up with Craig Titus and kind of made friends with Titus.
You over to Max Muscle. Ron got somebody to walk him over to Max Muscle every time that he was there.
It was actually Craig Titus drove me over in his white Jeep.
Oh wow!
And then we went to Firehouse.
Oh, it was on the corner back then. Yeah, that's right. Oh, man. Yeah, those are, I think, so I had someone reach out to me just recently. I felt like such a dick, but I get a message and they're like, hey, I'm competing and I want to get the full like Venice experience. So like, would you mind helping me out? And I was like, oh, well, get a DeLorean and travel back because LA sucks.
Yeah. Like there was no tents on the sidewalk. It was just straight sidewalk.
It's terrible because like, and I did tell him, I was like, don't get me wrong, like Ron and I had a good workout at Gold's and the way they've changed it. And it was cool, but what it was is gone.
Yeah.
So Gold's Venice isn't the same thing anymore. It's in the same location, but it used to be. I mean, I feel like it's like describing Temple to somebody who's never been, even if they've seen the inside. It's like you don't understand. Like you go in there at 4 a.m. There's no music on. You can hear the fans blowing, and you just woke up and you're not tired. The gym has energy. Like the amount of things that have happened in there. The staff, I mean, you know, you would walk in there, you could just walk in, like Ron said, any time of any day, and you are going to see people that you know. No matter how weird you are, where you're from, you are the most normal person in that room, I promise. Yeah. I had so many great times there, and the people of the gym adopt you if you come in there a couple times, and you are one of them. I mean, I'll never forget. I came in for a trip, and there was a new kid at the front desk, and he was like, "Okay, day passes, whatever." So I grabbed my wallet. I don't care. And I mean, Will Harris literally shouts, "He doesn't pay!" And I'm like,
Will Harris is.
I mean, he was so dead, and I was like, "It's fine." Like, I don't even ask. When I go to gyms, I just ask what a day pass costs, and I break.
Yeah.
Like, it's if the gym chooses to let you in, that's fine. Just don't be that douche that thinks you're special. I hate that. But it was so funny. And then he comes over and like the kid was like, well, and he like basically said no. And now I'm sitting there like, I don't know what to do. Like it's $20. It's not really a big deal. And Will's like, come with me. I'm like, oh, sorry if you lose your job over this.
Yeah. I remember one of the guys that worked there. I don't know if he was manager or not, but he saw me with like my big suitcase. Yeah. And I remember he was like, oh, you just in town for a few days? And I go, got like hours. I'm going right back to the airport. I just got off a flight from Australia and I'm going up to Canada and I just came to train. And I remember he was like, oh, that's awesome. Like he was like, really, really like, that's fucking cool. You need anything, let us know. And like, you know, he's really cool, but yeah, good times, you know, good memories.
I got another one here for you guys. This is, what does he say here? Dylan, he says, how does someone who would be considered a Gen Pop or lifestyle client turn into a freak or a monster of themselves?
Consistency of execution over a long period of time. That's like the bottom line. Like you can hire anybody, you can do anything you want, but you have to be willing to put in years and years and years. You know, if you're Gen Pop, let's say you're a 30-year-old dude and you want to transform your body, you got to bodybuild for like, you need at least 5 years to make like a huge change where people see you and they're like, oh, wow, what's going on? You know, and you got to be willing to be very, very dedicated. You don't miss workouts. You know, like I have a list of priorities in my life, you know, like I've got things I like to do, but my workouts is still very, very high. It's very, very high on that list. I don't miss workouts, you know, like Monday, I always train. Tuesday, I always train, you know, Wednesday, I always train. Like, and I feel like some people don't realize, like, if you want to get in shape, you want to get fit, that's one thing. But if you really, really want to make massive changes, consistency is, I mean, it adds up, man. And you got to be willing to slug it out and train your ass off. And you have to embrace the process and fall in love with the process, because like we've talked about many, many times, being impatient is a destroyer of fun. And it's a destroyer of the enjoyment of the process and the appreciation of all the other stuff that comes with it. Like, it's not just about going to the gym and getting bigger. You're making new friends. You're learning new things. There's new things you can implement with your, you know, you want to also get healthier. Like, you're eating better. You're making these, you're a Gen Pop guy, so you probably don't look that good. you know? So there's all these changes going on. You know, you're going to get some new clothes. Get excited about getting some new clothes that look better on you.
Yeah.
You know, like all those little things that people can find the excitement in, of embracing this life as, you know, if you want to use use the word bodybuilder or whatever, but this new life of like, I'm transforming myself. I'm reinventing myself. And if you can get that mentality, you know, and it's all the choices you make. Like, are you going to drink 2 nights a week like you have been? Right? Because there's all these things you can do to improve your life in all these other ways. If you want to go from being a Gen Pop person, which we talked about last week, what I saw in the hospital waiting room there.
Yeah.
You know, and just informing yourself. You're watching different podcasts now because you're transforming yourself. You're reinventing yourself. You want new knowledge. You want to reprogram your brain. So now you're learning about mindset and nutrition, and you're watching different stuff, and you're listening to different stuff, and you're reading different stuff. It's not just about going to the gym and following your diet. If you're Gen Pop and you want to make radical transformation, it happens in all sorts of ways. That's my bit.
It's a good bit.
I'm extremely happy that you had a long bit, because the landscapers came early today. The blower was out. The dogs are exploding, and I'm just sitting there like this, just nodding. It's like, I'm like, oh, there's so much. Ron, you got more. You got more, buddy. Don't forget to mention this. No, I really think that you nailed everything. I think the one thing that's missing now, in my opinion, for people who want to advance, whether you're Gen Pop or, you know, somebody who's attempting to get into bodybuilding or already there, is we used to embrace being new. You used to embrace not knowing what you were doing and asking questions. And I don't think I spoke for the longest time about bodybuilding because I knew I didn't know. And I don't know where that's gotten lost in all of the world, but definitely in bodybuilding, where you're like, no, it's time to absorb. Watch, especially now, like, you know, podcasts, like you said, Ron, like, I'm obsessed with hockey again, like watching and stuff. So I listen to podcasts and hear about trades, and I'm back to, like, even though I know the game, I don't know anything about what's going on now, and I'm just like soaking it in, and it's so much fun. And I think that that's gotten lost because for some reason you need to be an expert 2 weeks in. And it's like, no, dude, tell people, like, dude, I'm even if you're seeing changes, you know, oh, I have a lot of people ask about my diet. Tell them, hey, I'm just getting rolling. Yeah, I've had some great changes, broad answers to what you're doing. I'm working really hard. I got a coach, or I'm, you know, I read this book where I got my training out of, whatever it may be, but stay in that state, you know, where you're not the expert. Quick mute.
Yeah.
But I think that's an important thing because it does make it fun. I really think you can enjoy it more when you sit back, because there's also not a time in your entire career that you will see changes like that ever again. Where you're, I mean, listen, you might be curling a 15-pound dumbbell and thinking, oh, I'm so weak compared to Jack at the end there that's curling the 60s. Jack's been curling the 60s for 7 months. And he's just trying to get one more rep. In 2 months, you're using the 30s. It's out of control how fun that is.
You're on that ride.
When I got out of the coma, that was one of the things. People are like, oh, how did you handle it mentally being so weak? And I'm like, what are you talking about? I was hammer pressing a 10. And then, you know, 4 weeks later, I had a 45 on there for 7. I was like, this is the strongest jumps I've ever had in my life. Like, I wasn't even thinking about what I was doing before. What I was thinking was, last week I got this for 6. This week I got it for 11.
Yeah.
That is out of control fun. I mean, I had a logbook writing on there, you know, how do I write down a 10 and a 5? I've never had to do this before.
Yeah.
You know, so enjoy those things, because I think that that's the big thing. What you nailed, Ron, is it's fun, and the changes are fast. And I think the thing that I hate hearing the most now is, how long will it take? Because the answer is the rest of your life.
Yeah, it will. You know, like I retired from bodybuilding, and I dropped 80 pounds, and I'm still learning.
Exactly.
You know, I'm still learning. You know, I've had new injuries thrown at me that I've had to work my way around. And now I've got new lessons and new experience that I didn't know before because I never had problems with those areas. And I've encountered new problems and new challenges and new goals because I'm, you know, not cranking anymore. So now on the TRT, I've got to like, now how do I stay lean on TRT? Well, like my calories, those old things I used to do diet have to be adjusted now. They have to go to this. And, you know, what counts as cardio now? What do I count as cardio now that I maybe didn't count earlier? Or maybe how do I think about cardio? Like all this stuff I'm still learning, and it never ends. And so people who have like a finish date in mind, I have really bad news for them.
I actually had a kid ask me this weekend. He was like, he said, dude, you just, you know, it's always awkward. Someone go, you are huge. And I'm like, it's not like, you don't know, is it a compliment? Like, it's just a statement. I'm like,
okay.
Yeah. And then he goes, how long have you been training? And I said, how old are you? And he said, 19. I said, longer than that. It just helps it line up. It's like longer than you've been breathing, I've been doing this. Yeah. So if you are already doing it, just keep doing it.
I had a guy ask me not long ago how long I've been training, and I said about 34 years. And he goes, how old are you? And I go 48. And he goes, like I could see it, he just blew his mind.
Yeah.
Because he was like in his 20s.
Yeah.
He was like, holy shit. You know? So it's funny. Yeah.
More than a decade that you've been alive. That's amazing.
I'll add one thing, and that is to shoot for the stars because you may reach the clouds that way. I think that, I know I talk to a lot of people that, you know, are interested and they want to get involved with, you know, getting into better shape or pushing themselves, but they're like, I don't want to go too far with it. You know, like they have a vision in their head and they're not thinking of like, I don't want to be Luke Sando size. You know, I'm looking for less than that. And I remember my dad's friend that, Rick, that I used to work out with when I was like 15. We used to talk about that because people would say like, I don't want to get too big. And Rick would always say, don't worry, you won't. Because it's just not going to happen. You know what I mean? And I think that there is kind of like this kind of like more laid back attitude that people can have that like, yeah, I want to do this, but I don't want to try too hard. I'm just going to try to get some, you know, and I'll be happy with that. But I feel like if you shoot for the stars, you may reach the clouds. If you shoot for the clouds, you may reach the trees. If you shoot for the trees, you might not even get off the ground. You know what I mean? So like really freaking get invested in like Ron, everything you were saying. I love that, man. Just like it is a lifestyle, you know, and embrace that.
Yep.
That was my 2 cents.
Okay. Do we have I got some off-topic stuff if we're ready for that stuff. I don't know.
All right.
I'm always ready for off-topic.
Yeah.
Okay. We'll see what you guys have to say about this. What are the three, this is the way it was worded, what are the three most important comedy TV shows of your lifetime? Oh.
I'm having a delay. There we go. No, I had like a delay.
Dusty.
Oh. No. Yeah, there was like a delay in my thing, so I was making sure there was no information. So for me, I think it's pretty easy because everyone was on it. But like I grew up on Seinfeld, so
you're kind of the back end of that generation. Yeah,
yeah. So like to me, that show was so simple because a show written about nothing, literally, that everyone could relate to. Like there was not a single episode that I couldn't like lock into at all. And I just found that to be, I mean, to this day, to me, it is the greatest comedy I've ever seen because it was just flawlessly written about nothing. And I love watching them explain how they brought this to TV and how they spun the idea of a show about nothing.
with very flawed characters. Like, you know what I mean? Because there was that, you know, TV used to be the good guys were like all good guys. and the bad guys were all bad guys. And Seinfeld, like the main characters, like there's something wrong with all of them.
Yeah.
Like they were all like narcissistic and, you know, eccentric and like had just weird things wrong with them. And yeah. So anyways, go ahead.
Can you imagine anyone else playing any of those roles though? I love doing that when I watch a movie or something now. And I'm like, no one could play Tom Hardy in Peaky Blinders. No one.
Yeah.
It's against the rules. He's the guy, you know, and that's how I look at that show. I'm like, who's going to do Kramer?
Yeah.
One of a kind.
What else? What other two more that you think are hugely important, I guess was a key word to this.
Important. Fire Scott.
Could we add South Park to that list?
Yes.
Counts.
Phenomenal.
I think South Park was, it's like not my thing anymore, you know, like now, but it's still once in a while I hear they did, South Park talked about this topic. And if I happen to catch them, like, oh my God, they're still at it, you know?
Yeah.
They still hit the nail on the head.
Yeah. So you need two more, Scott.
Well, I was going to say Seinfeld as well. I'm going to throw in, I used to really enjoy like not anymore, but like the 90s Saturday Night Live was crazy.
Oh yeah.
And I think about like all the people that came out of that, like Will Ferrell.
That cast.
Just
Bill
all
Hartman. Adam Sandler.
All those
Chris
guys
Farley
were just all like powerhouses.
Gigantic, you know? That gigantic cast. The 90s they ran through like probably 20 of the 30, of the 30 funniest people ever on the show, 20 of them were in the 90s.
Yeah. And then like before that was good too, the original old stuff before our time. Yeah. Like that, those guys were all real important too, but I think the 90s were really cool. And I remember being like a young teenager, like staying up late, like figuring out that like I don't have school on Saturday, I could stay up late and watch this. And so I would do that. I'd stay up late and watch that, and like fight to stay awake sometimes to see what they were going to do.
I hate the word important. That's what threw me off, Ron. When I run through them. Well, because like, as far as like impacting of life, because the things that I think about, like, I mean,
like some can be super funny, but not necessarily important.
Yeah, like I don't think that I would consider like Married with Children like really important to any
part of television
time. But it was hysterical.
Yeah,
right. Yeah, you're right. That's an important part of the question: is what's the important? Yeah. I made a quick list on this, and it was hard. And I guess I sort of read the question important to me.
Ah, okay.
That's kind of what was my instinct when I read what are the 3 most important comedy TV shows of your lifetime. I guess you could take it like important to TV or important to you. Because, Seinfeld's on that list. If we're talking about important to society, you got South Park.
Yeah.
Without question.
Yeah, and that's where I was kind of going.
And I think also, if you're thinking of important, like culturally and to television and to how we view art and entertainment, The Simpsons.
Oh, absolutely. Right. I was thinking it too. Yeah.
It's technically the longest running sitcom of all time.
And they haven't aged.
Right.
Maggie's still a baby.
10 years old. Bart's still 10.
Yeah.
So that's something to think about. But then if I think about important to me, you guys hear me all right? I'm freezing a little bit.
Okay. Yeah, you look good. I can hear you fine.
If you guys think important to me in like my lifetime, I remember, there was a handful of shows I watched with my family where we watched them together. And Seinfeld was one of those. Like Seinfeld was just the type of show that even my parents loved Seinfeld, right? So we would all watch Seinfeld together Thursday night. It happened to all be home. We'd all watch Seinfeld. I grew up watching Cheers with my mom and dad.
Okay.
Right. Yep.
And Cheers ran for 11 years. It was the best show on TV. It was the #1 sitcom. It won all the awards. It was like the king of all the shows. Cheers was the best show on TV. And then as Cheers was ending, Seinfeld came up on that Thursday night must-see TV on NBC and replaced it in the slot.
Right.
so I had Cheers on my list. But then when I think of important, Scott really nailed SNL Saturday Night Live in the 90s was great. But I think of important, I think of like the change that it brought to how TV's made. And I say The Office.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Because it was so unique. And, you know, it was the first show to do that.
The brand of humor, too, that they brought, you know. It's been like now redone, you know what I mean? It's become kind of a style, hasn't it? Yeah,
where people break the fourth wall and they talk to the camera, you know?
Yeah.
You get that in so many other shows now because of The Office. That was a really unique idea, and they really led the charge on that. And just think of how culturally relevant it is, how many people reference The Office, you know? Like people crack office jokes all the time, and you only have to, someone might only have, what she said. And oh, how the turntables, you know, just like some of the funny lines that just everyone seems to know, even if they never really watched the show, you know, that overlap.
That's my favorite, is they didn't watch it and they still get it because of memes and things like that.
Yeah. So I don't know. I thought that was an interesting question because, you know, it kind of made me think of when I was a kid and what I grew up watching. So,
hey, I had two TV show recommendations I wanted to put out in the world. If you guys don't,
I have one too.
All right,
fire.
So number one is a show we just finished called Mindhunter, and it was about the development of basically like CIA, FBI profiling type stuff, and it's set in like the 70s into the early 80s. We just finished it the other night. It was canceled for the budget was too big. It is so perfectly done. You would think you were literally just like dropped back in time because all the cars, everything, there's clothes, like everything just fits perfectly with the very, very late 70s into the early 80s. Character development, everything was over the top great. Highly recommend that show. And the other one is a suggestion I have for you guys because you're both hockey fans. Now, I don't know how big into Letterkenny you guys were, but Shoresy is an unfreaking believable TV show that both of you need to see. Of the main character from Letterkenny is playing a different guy who was a side character on Letterkenny. It helps to have seen all the Letterkenny episodes to enjoy this, but you could go in cold and you'd be fine with it. He plays for what they term senior whale shit hockey team. Okay, these guys are kind of like older, kind of washed up, but oh my God, do they freaking bang hard. I told Victoria the other night, I was like, you know what this has reminded me of since the very first episode? It reminds me of Masters Bodybuilding. Like, you know that like those guys at like you go to Masters Nationals, those guys are in it. Like this is their thing. This is their freaking life. And that's what these guys are. That's what hockey is for them. And it's just absolutely fantastic. Plus, Ron, as a Canadian, you'll get stuff that I don't get because Victoria kind of translates some things to me. And
some of the phrases?
Yeah, some of the phrases.
English.
Some of the phrases, some of the cultural stuff like, oh, that's because those guys are from Quebec and, you know, stuff like that.
Right,
you know?
right. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, they got nicknames for each other because of what province they're from.
Yeah, all of that. So both of you guys, like, I highly suggest
those shows are great though too because they're the accuracy of the lifestyle of the players. Like, when I watch, I'm like Letterkenny. You look and I'm like, I know those guys. They don't have the same name, but I know him. Like, there's a Ron. I'll have to send it to you, but there is a Instagram page that's like everything like. Through the eyes of a hockey player, like hockey player's first day of school when he just moved. And I'm watching and I'm like, oh my God, I show Nikki and she thinks it's kind of funny. I'm like, oh no, it's hysterical. Like if you've been this guy, it's a different thing. So
yeah. Okay. I gotta recommend a show. A show. So I recommend two shows. We just finished, we watched it reluctantly because you know, we're like, you know, quite often horror just doesn't work. But did I mention that I was watching a show called From?
No.
We found this show on Paramount called From. And it's got a great cast and a unique idea, and it's a horror slash thriller. And we started kind of reluctantly. We just heard how great it was. We're like, oh, well, we'll give it a try. And we just binged 2 seasons, and now we can't wait for season 3. And they just left us hanging on this crazy cliffhanger. Wild ride. You don't know what's going on. There's a lot of possibilities as to what the hell is going on. But it's basically about these people that, you know, they're on a road trip and they go through this small town, and they just keep looping through the small town, and they get out and start talking to the locals, basically. And the locals are like, yeah, you're stuck here just like us.
Oh, I love this kind of stuff. I love these shows.
We can't get out. Same thing happened to us. Everyone here is stuck in this town. And it's a really messed up situation. You're not sure if it's an M. Night Shyamalan type of thing.
I'm gonna write it down.
Or if it's, you don't know if maybe they're stuck in a simulation. You don't know if they're actually dead. You don't know why or what this town is. And at nighttime, these monsters come out of the forest and just rip your guts out if you're outside. So you have to be inside by sundown. There's all this weird, creepy stuff that doesn't make sense. Physics, the laws of physics and reality seem to be suspended, so things don't work the way they're supposed to. So therefore, everyone's kind of confused, like, what the hell is going on? And, you know, a lot of people have died. Like, most of the people that have ever wound up there have been killed, and they're just trying to stay alive in this town, and they're trying to figure out how the hell to get out and why they're there and what it is. And so it's got a real M. Night Shyamalan. You're not sure what they're going to throw you, you know?
Right.
Like, is this a government experiment? Is this a simulation? Is this another dimension? You just don't know. So we're enjoying it.
Did you see
weird show?
Did you see ever a show called Wayward Pines?
No, but I heard that was good.
The first season was good. It just kind of struck me as having kind of like a similar element.
Right.
And there was a big cast in the first season, and then it turned sideways for the second.
Okay. So now we're waiting for season 3. Now the second show that we just started and we plowed through 6 episodes is The Gentleman. Guy Ritchie's The Gentleman.
I told you, man, this is so good, isn't it?
You recommended it, and holy smokes. I like the movie, and I love Guy Ritchie stuff with all the gypsies and all the gangsters and everything.
Yeah.
But, oh, wow, what a mess.
What a ride.
What a mess. It is awesome. Have you seen it, Dusty?
No.
Oh, you got to watch The Gentleman. I mean, Guy Ritchie doesn't fail. He just nails these characters. These characters are ridiculous cartoons of guys that we know,
right?
You know,
I could swear Dave Crossland could be in that show. Could you see like Dave back in the day be a character?
Dave Crossland could be in that show. Yeah. Dino could be in that show. Dino could be involved. Like, someone could go to Dino for advice. Well, I know a guy. Like, you know.
That's great.
Dave's back in his bouncer days.
Just these 2 references I have to watch.
It's good. It's good. You know, you could see a lot of the Brummies, a lot of the Birmingham crew that I know play roles in that. A lot of the London guys. Hollingshead could be a character if he needed him. He could go to Hollingshead for his. You know, he could be like the juice dealer.
Yeah,
you know,
or like some sort of doorman, or a heavy.
Yeah,
he
could be the head doorman at a big club or something, and he knows all the hookups. You know.
Yeah,
that'd be good. Yeah. But yeah, perfect. And I just love Guy Ritchie's got such an eye for detail, like that house they're in, and just everything, all the clubs they go to, and just the eye for detail is spectacular. The show looks great. We're just loving it. We're just along for the ride, man. So
it's worth
can't
it
wait
too.
For the next.
Like the whole thing doesn't fail, man, all the way through.
Yeah. So we're enjoying The Gentleman.
Awesome.
Okay.
Oh, we got a shout out here too, guys.
Oh, yeah, okay. And then I had one. Oh, yes. Let's do this.
Yes.
For the people who are listening on the audio, Dusty, what are we looking at here?
We got the crew, or as everyone knows, we have Donna and Harvey. Harvey's on the left, Donna's in the middle, and now we've got Nova Gray, who we just drove from South Carolina to Texas to go to the Powerful Rescue and pick her up, and she is here now. That was That was us playing on the first day. She's very vicious. As you could see in that pic right there, her skin is healing up really, really well from the burns. So for those who missed that part, she was lit on fire when she was a pup. So they've had her for 2 years. That was intentional for those who want to help me kill someone. Anyways, but she's doing awesome. And actually right now she's hanging out right below me. I'll actually show her here. Hey, Nova, come here. Come here. You going to be on the show? Let's see if I can get her angle there. Where am I? Where am I? Nova, where you at?
There she is.
Nova, what up, girl? Say hi for everybody.
Oh, now that's a good girl.
You're going to have so many fans, girl. So she's doing awesome. And her and Harvey, I've got videos already. Where am I? There we go. Playing, having fun. Donna has not decided that she's willing to let her in just yet.
Right.
So she walks anywhere near Donna, and Donna goes,
Okay.
So, but it's good. It was a exhausting trip, but she's been phenomenal. And of course, Duke's like, on the first night, keep her in a crate no matter what she does. So we put her in the crate, close the door, she goes to sleep. Wake up this morning, doesn't wake us up. I come down, open the door. She's like, okay, I'll get up now. I'm like, there we go, flawless. So she's already locked in, and she's chosen Nikki as her favorite. And if Nikki moves, she leaves.
Aw.
Where are we going? I'm like, you're going nowhere. She's going to lunch. So, yeah, but awesome addition, and we're super stoked to have her here. They call it a trial, and I guess that's just because I don't have the adoption papers yet. You're supposed to have 30 days. I needed like 30 seconds. I'm like, this is done. I don't know what you're talking about. I just drove her from Texas to South Carolina. She lives here. It's over. We're done here. So,
yeah, that's funny. That's amazing. That's amazing. So how old do they think she is? Like 2 and a bit?
Yeah, I think about 3. So, and it's been cool because you got to remember, being that she was in the at the rescue, she's not used to just like chilling out all day. So it took part of today for her to realize, like, you don't have to play the whole time or go to the bathroom or eat. So now, like, it took a couple hours this morning, and now she's just chilling. So it's been very good. And Harvey chases a lizard in the backyard, and she doesn't know that. So while Harvey's chasing a lizard, she thinks Harvey is playing with her.
And she's running around. Harvey.
Yeah. Oh, it's amazing to watch. I'm like, look at these idiots. No one knows what's happening. The lizard's the only one that knows that it's running for its life. And then Donna just sits inside and barks at them because they're morons.
She's really good with small dogs because she was at a rescue, right? So she's used to other dogs.
Yeah, well, they when we reached out and finally like had committed to trying to get this done, Stephanie and Duke brought in and had her start working with some smaller dogs. The other thing that is bonkers is she's completely trained.
That's great.
She sits, stays, plays, all those things, walks on a leash flawlessly. I mean, literally, we're talking about, $5,000 in training. You know that. I've got 2 that have it. So having that detail with her, it's just amazing. You're walking, like, we stayed at a hotel on our way home, and people walk up and you're like, Nova, sit. Just boom, sits down, and they're like, oh, that's different. I'm like, yeah. Like, how long have you had her? I'm like, 7 hours, roughly. So yeah, she's been phenomenal. So we're definitely enjoying, and she has broken all the things you would think. You got to remember, somebody who's had all their trust taken away, a human hurt her. You would never know. Never know.
Awesome.
Okay, very happy to hear that.
Ron's next with his second.
Yeah, you were breaking up a little bit there, Dusty. I just had a second. I was waiting for it to catch up. What did I have? I had one more thing.
You had to shut up.
No, I had I guess we really irritated some people.
Oh yeah,
with our Tom Platz reaction. We didn't mean to irritate. What's going on? We're just having a laugh. I didn't think we were disrespectful, were we? I thought we were kind of funny.
I think that maybe, like, if we were all in the same room with Tom and we were giving him crap about the suspenders, like, you've seen him in suspenders. So some people were like, oh yeah, he was doing a seminar. Like, he was doing a seminar, right?
Yeah.
He was doing a seminar.
There's a reason. Yeah.
So there's that. Somebody gave me crap because they were like, Scott, you don't know. No, they're like, you guys don't know anything about Detroit bodybuilding or Detroit gyms. It's like, I never claimed that we did.
Yeah, I've never been to Detroit.
Well, I have, but I think I'm the only person who's ever mentioned our Mentos like on the internet, like on YouTube. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, you told me about it. You said it was a great gym that I should go to.
No. Our Mentos, it's closed. It's been closed.
Oh yeah.
For my entire life. It was before I was around.
You did.
You know?
Yeah, you told me about that gym. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then this was America's gym, where America Gym or something. Isn't that what they said?
No. It was called our Mentos, and he said
our Mentos. Okay.
Yeah, he said, it was that gym you couldn't think of, Scott. It was called our. What did he say here? He said.
Oh yeah. Okay,
Scott,
sorry.
The gym
I saw
you don't know the name of is our Mentos.
Yes. Okay.
Owned by Mr. Michigan, Tony Armento. I trained there and used to use the same hack squat as Tom Platz. You guys know nothing about Michigan bodybuilding or gyms.
To be fair, I know nothing about Michigan.
Yeah?
Except that it's Detroit's north of Windsor. That's all I know.
That's true.
Yeah.
It is true.
Yeah. I think the only thing that I find interesting in these is maybe people don't know what React videos are. Mm-hmm. Because the point is, like, that video was content itself. So if we didn't say a word, it was valuable content. So you're not going to go on and essentially take already valuable content and stretch out the way Tom Platz trains the guy's legs. It's fun. I think
you can just watch that video.
Realize you can just have some fun. Like if you don't want to have fun with the video, then just watch the video itself and make it educational. But that's not what we were doing with it. And I still think suspenders are a great look, and I've started wearing them. So there. You know nothing about South Carolina gyms, buddy. Suck it.
There you go.
South Carolina. That's right. That was a good point, though. We needed to discuss
Didn't mean to ruffle some feathers. We were just having fun.
Yeah.
And,
I did.
And then one guy, I remember one guy, he's like, Tom Platz isn't a hippie. He's rather conservative. I didn't imply that he like was a hippie in the voting booth.
Tree hugger.
Yeah.
I was trying to find the words to imply that he talks very spiritually and, talks about like when I saw his seminar, he sounded like, he had long hair in the 70s, like he sounded like that type of guy, real like, personal experience type of vibe. He sounded like a guru was what I was trying to say.
I got that
he didn't
from
want
you.
to use the word peyote. That's all.
Yeah.
I got
he didn't
that
use
from
the
you.
word hallucinogenics, but I sort of took that there might have been some, some indulged in at some point. That's all.
We're getting yelled at even more now for this part of this episode.
Yeah.
And just because we were having fun with it doesn't, like, I feel like we brought it around too, because we were talking about like how great his legs still were today and how he was just an absolute insane trainer and that's what made him great. But I think people, I don't know. I get the vibe because there was another guy. Like a lot of people got it. So let's not just say that like everybody.
Yeah.
We're talking about the very few, but another guy was like, "This is not cool that you can disrespect the legend like Tom Platz." I don't know if maybe like if we were to do a reaction video, if we should just be serious and be like, "Okay, so Tom's gonna have him train some. Okay, so he's starting out with one plate here. Tom's really getting into his head here,
really pushing him.
Tom's really getting him warmed up here. This is really good. Tom was a legend with the legs. Yeah. You can see it coming now.
I could twist it even further though, because I could be like, legs are all business, which is why Tom is dressed the way he is, because he's here for business.
You don't wear a suit to the gym when you train legs.
Yeah, and I certainly think that and then David, like I was saying, David's like such a great guy, and he's trained with Tom many times. So I hope that David would get a laugh out of that episode too.
I would hope so too.
You know what I mean?
I've met Tom because he used to training in Scottsdale Gold sometimes. Like, Tom would get a kick out of it. That's the thing that people don't realize. It's like when we were busting on Jay's clothes from the when he had the tied headband on. Yeah. Like, I remember we got torn into it. I'm like, I have his cell phone number. I'm allowed to tease him. And he would tease himself.
I think he would laugh. He would laugh, Well,
we in fairness, we had him on like 2 weeks after. So I think it was fine.
Yeah.
I don't think that he was too worried about it. So, but what you got to remember is I think that you can only look at things from your perspective is something that Nikki reminds me of all the time when I get frustrated with people.
Yeah.
Because like I saw that there was some reaction to Ron breaking down how my physique could have been better on another episode. There's the socks.
Oh, nice.
Yes. You're muted still. You're muted. You're muted.
Oh, here's the proof I have the socks. I told everyone I had a pair. It almost sounded like one guy didn't believe me, so I wanted to throw these out there.
You don't have the socks.
You don't have the socks.
You don't know anything about this gym.
Leg day. There we go.
That's cool.
Those are great. Yes.
Thanks to David Hoffman for the socks.
David Hoffman
you should have been wearing.
He deleted you from his Instagram.
But no, I thought that was an interesting thing as well, because I'm like, you know, people get offended by so many things now. I had people like defending my honor on the fact that I could use more quad sweep. Like, well, that's not really a question. That's a fact.
Dusty was absolutely
use more quad sweep.
Yeah, and then and it was all in relation to what Dusty says about his own waist.
Yeah.
Which is accurate, by the way. If someone cannot, I think if you were to ask Jay, 01, 09, whatever, where could you have been better? He could have told you somewhere. Not that he could have peaked better for that show, but is there anything else that he could have seen his physique be better?
Yeah.
Phil Heath at his best. If you can't do that at that level, you're in trouble. Well, you sure as hell can at every other level. And if your friends can't look you in the face and say, you need to bring your quads up, then they're not good friends. I'm sorry. Like,
and here's
damn.
Yeah. And if Dusty's waist would have been 2 inches smaller, then I might not have mentioned the quad sweep.
If it would have been 2 inches smaller, it would have been only been 6 inches too big.
It's so fun
Guys,
in hindsight.
have fun. Jeez, it's even more fun in hindsight.
God,
it was painful back then because I had to see it all the time.
Yeah, I know.
Don't be crabby. That's my advice for the day. Don't be crabby, guys.
Don't be crabby.
I'll try not to be crabby,
let us have
too.
fun. The bottom line, let us have some fun. If we sound like idiots, that's okay. It's for your amusement.
Yes.
Yeah, laugh at us, not with us.
Yeah, please. Feel free to. Feel free to. Okay. Do we have anything left? Is that it?
I think that's it.
That's it? We're good for a show.
Nova's made the show. We could be done now. She said we're done.
Okay. Let's do that. Let's wrap that. We did pretty good. Obviously, everyone loved the Justin Shire episode. Thanks for everyone that watched both parts. We just had an upload incident and wound up doing part 1 and part 2.
So I figured out what the problem was. It took me
Justin
a while.
was too much good content.
Yeah, just too much good content. It was. So here was the deal. I have a huge, like, multi-terabyte external hard drive that all the shows get saved on, you know, and so you get, like, I think 32 terabytes, and, like, it's going to cover a lot of shows, right? Guess what? Eventually you fill it up. That's what happened. So the show actually, so the file that I had, it still said like an hour and 45 minutes long. So I'm like, oh, it's good, right? For an hour and 45 minutes long. I'm not going to watch the whole thing. And, I uploaded it and went about my day. And it turned out that even though it was an hour and 45 minutes long, like the data stopped when my hard drive ran out, but the file didn't corrupt. So it just still is crazy. It's weird. The file still played halfway through. So yeah, I've thank you to Patreon, because Patreon, like, seriously, hard drives are so expensive for like multi-terabyte hard drives, and now I need to get another one. So thank you guys.
Okay, awesome. Well, I'm glad we got that fixed. Good reaction to Justin's episode. A lot of people said that they really love him as a guest. So
actually, I had people that suggested he join the show more than be a guest. They're like, have Justin on all the time. I'm like, I'm not against it.
Yeah. I had one guy at the gym. He said, you guys should just have him on like whenever he's free. Which I took to mean he's better than you guys.
That was I caught the same thing. They're like, you should have him on, and then like maybe you shouldn't be. I'm like, wait,
like maybe it's, you don't have to be there all the time. You can maybe just come in whenever you like really need to be there.
If you wanted
whenever
to,
Justin's not available, you could step in.
You could fill in. For
you could do a half hour, and then you could leave, and Dusty could do a half hour, and then he could leave, and Justin can do a half hour with Scott.
Yeah, just the whole thing. No Scott.
Yeah,
we just give him the software.
You're just a producer again.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh man, that's good stuff.
Pretty soon, Scott's like, I have an idea, Ron. We're just going to give you a 10-minute rant at the end, but you don't really need to be there at the rest of the show.
We're going to keep you in the green room for the rest of the show. All right?
I think I'm muted. Yes, you are.
Yeah.
Don't worry. It's okay. It's okay.
It's okay. Just try. I don't want you to be too stressed about being there.
Yeah. Right? I know you're busy. You got the gym. A lot of clients nowadays. A lot of clients, right?
A lot of clients are busy. Yeah.
2 hours, ride your bike. Just do your thing.
Yeah. Gives you more time to work on you. Yeah. Sell that hard exit.
That's good.
That's beautiful. Okay. I love it.
Okay. Thanks, guys. Appreciate it. Thanks to everybody. Thanks to Patreon, all the YouTube viewers, all the Spotify audio people, all you podcast nuts. Remember to like, share, subscribe, comment, and
ring the bell.
And keep hitting IamMutant.com.
Yes.
We really appreciate it. Dusty20, Big Ron 20. Save yourself 20%. Get your all in, get your gear, and everyone, you're all in, get your, what did I do? ISO Surge, and everyone should get on the gear. I got ahead of myself. See, that's why I'm losing my job. Remember, Think Big Patreon. Yeah. But I appreciate all the uses of the code. Definitely appreciate it. Get hammered with emails all the time. So much appreciated. And remember, westcoastirononline.com, all you last 5 minute crew.
Yes.
Go to westcoastirononline.com, get a t-shirt, get a hoodie. We still have we still have the weed shirt up there. If you guys didn't get the weed shirt, you can still get it online. So that's a good one. Nice. I don't have one myself though, but you guys want the weed shirt. And thanks. Is that good?
That's great.
That's it.
Okay. Remember everybody, it's just bodybuilding.